and gentlemen, Jim Knox.
It's 3 a.m. I'm up again, racing to the surface like a drowning man. Mind's on fire, this day's begun. Pour a cup of coffee, hours till the sun. It's 3 a.m. It's 3 a.m. But it's all good, this time is mine. Early hours are better for imagining. Da-da-da-da-da. But it's all good, this time is mine. Early hours are better for imagining. Plans are made and beauty's seen. I really can appreciate how good life's been at 3 a.m. It's 3 a.m. Alarm clocks always seem to say it's 3 a.m. Every time I check it, it's that time again. I've given up on sleeping in by now, my friend. Alarm clocks always seem to say it's 3 a.m. It's quiet still, a peaceful pool. Anything seems possible, it's really cool. I'm feeling good as it should be. I wouldn't trade my mornings, can I make you see? It's 3 a.m. It's 3 a.m. Alarm clocks always seem to say it's 3 a.m. Every time I check it, it's that time again. Giving up on sleeping in by now. I really think that it's my thing somehow. It's 3 a.m. Okay.
Wow, Jim Knox. Welcome to the studio, man.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. This is exciting. This has been a long time in the making.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I've watched several of your interviews, and it's really a fun thing to learn and watch other people, what they're doing. It's great.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's been quite the ride. When I initially started this, I had no idea how it was going to turn out or what it was going to turn into or what it was going to be or any of that. And it's kind of just developed over time through all of the different people that have been on here. So that's been really cool. It's taken on a life of its own.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. So what do you have for us today?
Well, I've tried to put a collection of different things that I've worked on over the past year or so. So you'll hear some different styles. So I guess I'm starting with some of the older things. So this first one is a song that I wrote kind of about reflecting on childhood and compared to what's happened today. So it's called Red Bicycle. Okay. I was dreaming I was riding on my red bicycle over childhood hills with a grape popsicle. Played all day, Mom said it's fine, just be home by dinner time. Ball cards clacking in my spokes, laughing at my stupid jokes. Charcoal grills and fresh cut grass filled the air as I rode past. drinking from a garden hose, grass stains rubbed in all my clothes. Time went by so slow to me, 6 weeks, an eternity. I didn't have a plan or care, good times happen everywhere. Hot days spent down at the pool, cannonball splashes seemed so cool. Ping pong bubble gum, hanging out under the sun. Cherry Cokes and Nutty Buddies, Super Ball Slinkies, and Silly Putty. Now I wake up to the cell phone ring, Facebook message, emails ding. Fix some coffee to lift the fog, let the cat in, walk the dog. Not to mention go to work, wondering which way I'll get jerked to, get ahead or left behind. Find my keys but lose my mind. This is when I close my eyes and dream the dream I realize, and hop aboard that red bicycle and pedal off to spend my nickel. And I'd spend it on ping pong bubble gum, hanging out under the sun. Cherry Cokes and Nutty Buddies, Super Ball Slinkies, and Silly Putty on my red bicycle. Red bicycle. Okay, this one is a little bit different. It's a projection of values in life on an old door. This old door, it said, needs paint. Sun-baked layers peeling, red and green and colors quaint. Cracks of time revealing, weathered brass, a verde blush, golden lumined ware, where weary hands in timeless rush returned from worldly cares. Tear it down and let's go by. A new door, bright and trendy. Why must you insist we try and waste our time to mend it? Guardian of our home's retreat, silent sentinel bold, Patina's history replete with many stories told. By a bright and shiny lock, so everyone can see what we have our neighbors mock. It rattles with the key. How, oh how have we come to this? Our lost treasures sorrow, new but hollow promises will soon be gone tomorrow. As we recoil from mirror's view, age's tale lamented, patina's glow of honor too, a life well lived presented. Okay.
Wow. So let's start with the songwriting component, because we talked a little bit about that before the show. So how do you write your songs? What do you write about?
Well, usually it starts off with the kernel of an idea. Like a lot of people, I'll have a rhyme or something, or it could be something I've seen on the news, or I'm sentimental about something. I start with just one little rhyme, and it kind of flows out from there.
Yeah.
Usually, I usually do lyrics first.
Really?
Yeah.
So you do lyrics before you sit down with the guitar?
Usually, yeah.
Interesting.
And but I'm one of these people that thinks almost that it's an inspired or channeled thing, because usually once I get started, in 30 minutes I've got it written.
Wow.
You know, it's like that, you know, so I'm appreciative of whoever it is that's inspiring that.
This seems to be a common theme amongst musicians. The more I discuss writing with musicians, the more I find, you know, just as you said, and the same with my own writing process is, you know, it's either something will inspire it, or sometimes it'll be like a deliberate, like, oh, I want to try to write something.
Right.
But then you go into this flow state, and all of a sudden it's like it's writing itself, and then you come out at the other end, and it's like, who wrote that song?
Right. Now, you mentioned this, and I agree. You know, sometimes I do set out with something in mind, like there might be something that bothers me. You know, I have some songs coming up about the division in our society that bothers all of us, and you know, so a few of those have been very intentional.
Right.
You know, but at the same time, it's like once you prime the pump, it flows a little bit. So.
Now, so I know we said we'd get into some background later, but your music background, when did that start?
Well, very limited actually. As a child, I had a year of piano lessons that was almost obligatory in my age group. When I was 13, my dad bought me an electric guitar and amp, which was, I think, for each of my brothers and I, there was this one moment in our childhood that something spectacular was done, you know, and so I piddled around with that. I got in a garage band of other 14-year-olds, and we had one gig that we played, you know, but after that, I really didn't play much for a lot of my busy life. I didn't really have money to buy guitars when I was in college and things, or have room to put one in there, and then marriage and children and busy, and
right.
So I'd say maybe 8 years ago I started getting into playing a ukulele just for fun, and those things are addictive, and you know, pretty soon you have 9 ukuleles, and it's silly, you know, but it kind of went on from there. I didn't start guitar again until I started writing some songs. The first song that I played and was one that I wrote, really inspired by a friend of mine who was hosting an open mic, and they required you to have original music only at that particular open mic, which limited people a lot.
Right.
And so I said, well, I'll write you a song. I write poetry, so I'll write a song. And so that's what that one was. And the Old Door was a song that was done there also. So
let's talk about that. So the the three songs that you've played, because I know you mentioned beforehand, before the show, that these different songs, like everything everything you're writing is important to you, right?
Right.
It's not writing just for the sake of writing per se.
Right.
So what are some of the stories behind those songs?
Well, the 3 a.m. one was just the fact that I do wake up early in the morning. Yeah, I do. Sometimes it's not 3 a.m., but a lot of times it is. And I'm up and I feel good then, and everything is right there. That's when I write songs usually, actually, or anything else that I accomplish that's important. I just feel empowered at those hours.
Yeah.
So that song's about that. The Red Bicycle one, actually, I was thinking about my childhood and my parents who are both gone, and how different my childhood was to a lot of kids these days that are like monitored everywhere they go. And
yeah,
and I really did have the luxury. We'd leave in the morning, and Mom would say, "See you at dinner time."
Yep.
You just be off and doing, and so I was remembering that, and then it morphed into what life is like now, how restricted we can allow it to become if we aren't too careful.
Yeah.
So anyway, I kind of like that song. That I wrote it as a poem. My daughter-in-law liked it a lot, and she talked me into. She said, "Well, I want you to make that into a song, and I want you to come and sing it at the kids' class, at school. They go to John B. Dye near here." And so I did that, and that was what that one was.
Fascinating. So, and by the way, the Red Bicycle one, I have to say, I really, really appreciate the message of that. One, it's a great song, but that underlying message, because I'm 26. I grew up in kind of this weird transition period from, hey, come home when the lights come on, like the street lights come on, to like, here's a cell phone, and now there's constant communication. And I think it really has changed quite a bit, especially the generation following me,
Yes.
As far as how their experience growing up is, and how they address, I guess, personal responsibility in a lot of ways. So I think that's an important thing to talk about and to write about. So I really I appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
So you said you started with lyrics first.
Right.
Do you start because you just mentioned you write poetry. Do you start it as a poem, or do you go, okay, this is a poem, and what I'm going to do with this is a song? Like, this is, I intend for this to be a song, I intend for this to be, or that to be a poem.
Usually starts out as poetry. Now, what pulled me into songwriting, I told you about the first two. Of late, this past year or so, with the pandemic, a friend of mine named Carl Wern started, you've heard other people talk about his community.
Yeah.
He has this virtual open mic every Wednesday night, and usually it's 50 or 60 people that upload songs. And the pandemic shifted my career as a photographer, was pretty much shut down for a while, and I needed something creative to do. So Carl allowed me to come on, and I kind of timidly uploaded a couple of songs, and they're very encouraging there. I mean, they know, those of us, a lot of us call ourselves the JV team on that open mic. But we're included as you don't have to have a hit record to be on there.
Right.
Yet there are people on there who are top A-list quality people. So that's when I started turning more poems into songs.
Interesting. Now you've kept up a pretty solid pace. You're writing about a song a week, right?
Pretty much. I've slowed down a little of late. There for a while, there's several people on Carl's community that are prolific writers, and I kind of caught their draft and tried to do what they were doing. And there's one fellow who's, gosh, where does he live? Colorado, I think, that really wrote a really good song every week for 52 weeks in a row.
Wow.
Named John Bunsley. He, unbelievable, you know.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And so that's a two-edged sword, really. I mean, you don't want to just write a song for the sake of writing a song, and some that I wrote were probably that, or kind of lightweight in nature. But I hope each one had at least one good line in it, you know?
Right.
They were important to me, and when you're working on it at the time, it seemed like really a good idea. And I look back on some, it's like looking back at your high school term papers that you thought were so good, and you read them now and you go, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so that brings up an interesting, or rather brings up a question in that what lessons have you learned from writing, you know, from starting on that path a year ago of, okay, I'm going to, you know, write one song a week. I imagine not having done that before at that pace to now going like, wow, like I've written a lot of material. I would imagine there's quite a few lessons in there.
Yes. I'd say in terms of freeing you to be open to things. It's almost like a writer of novels that's looking for interesting characters to use, and you'll see that, and you know the power of that's available in life right now under stressful times in particular. When you see true goodness and friendship in the world, it makes you want to write about that. You know, I'm not crazy about writing about things I don't like. I want to spin that into how do we get out of it by being good. You know? I think we all do, but I think it's encouraging, you know. And again, Carl's group is so encouraging. You can go on a limb and try to do something, and you don't know how it's going to fly.
Yeah.
But almost everybody will pat you on the back at least. I might say, good try.
Yeah.
But so it's freeing.
Yeah, and a huge shout out to Carl Wern. Carl's actually, that was his open mic at Big Woody's was one of the first ones I ever walked into when I first moved to Virginia Beach. And that would have been, when I first started going there, that would have been almost 2, maybe 3 years ago now.
Okay.
So I met him, and he's just a phenomenal guitar player.
Yes.
Amazing vocalist. And a prolific writer.
Yes.
Know. He's
very impressive.
And he does a lot, as you mentioned, you know, Carl's Community on Facebook, which for anybody listening that's interested, check that out, Carl's Community. It's a group that, you know, I think when I first saw it, when I first met Carl a couple of years ago, you know, I think it might have had a few hundred people, maybe like 1,000 people, and it's just grown exponentially, you know, since then. I mean, he's really cultivated something special, and all of the people that make it up, people such as yourself, that participate on a regular basis, I mean, that's incredible, you know, incredible to see, and it's inspiring. Because I know a lot of people, everybody I know mentions Carl's Community at one point or another. So
it seems to be the thing.
It for sure is.
But, you know, I question, we're having next week, actually, Sunday, a week from today, a reunion, the first gathering of people. It's going to be at Big Pink over in Hampton, which will be very interesting because most of these people I have never met.
Yeah.
You know, it's, and you know, I equate it, it's almost like the online dating jokes, you know, where you get impressions of people and, you know, that's not your picture.
Right,
you
yeah.
know? So it's going to be very interesting to meet all of these wonderful characters that I know we like each other, but it'll be different than...
Yeah, that's exciting, though. I would imagine that's going to be very, very fun.
It will be. I can't wait. That'll be fun.
That's wonderful. All right, how do you feel about playing another song or two, and then we'll dive into some other aspects of your career. I want to hear all about the photography.
Okay, we'll go there. Okay, this next one is where I'm writing about the division in our country, and this is a positive spin. It's called a warm wind blowing. Like a warm wind blowing before summer rain, when you see a drop or two on your window pane, you'll start knowing things are gonna change. Let's pull together when they do. Someone's writing, someone's done you wrong. Saw it on the TV, they went on and on. Just don't start fighting, just don't play along. That someone's trying to get to you. Why can't we see that it's up to you and me to treat each other well so we can all be free? That same old lesson, treat your brother as yourself. We're just different looking boxes from the same old shelf. Some bad apples, won't there always be? Most of them are good ones growing on the tree. So don't dabble, find good in all you see. Let's pull together and be true. Why can't we see that it's up to you and me to treat each other well so we can all be free? That same old lesson, treat your brother as yourself. We're just different looking boxes from the same old shelf. Like the warm wind blowing before a summer rain, when you see a drop or two on your window pane, you'll start knowing things are gonna change. Let's pull together as they do. Okay. Okay.
First, I love the line about how we're all boxes, like different boxes on the same old shelf.
Okay, thank you.
You know, that's that really resonates with me, and it's funny because again, this has been kind of a common theme, especially with the stream I did yesterday, and one of the conversations that Jared and I had throughout. You know, we got into a little bit of philosophical discussion about is everything that you're seeing like a reflection of you? You know, and what is reality and all of this stuff. But that line in particular really hits home because I think there's truth to it. You know, if you think of it from a almost like a cosmic perspective, right?
I'm right with you on that one.
Yeah.
The oneness
Yeah.
of all of us. We're connected. And our culture tries to make you think you're not.
Yeah.
You know, and the things that we are told, the way things are, well, you can tell probably I'm not a fan of the news and the spin that things are done, because all the people I see that I encounter that are as different as me as can possibly be, I look them in the eye and smile at them, and they're smiling back.
Yeah.
You know, there's common ground.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be filtered through the digital world.
Right. No, exactly. And I
Yeah.
think, you know, this is something that I'll get into from time to time. It's an example I like to use, that, you know, once upon a time, people would look out their window and assess the world based on that. But ever since we gained technology at the level that we have it, we've turned our computer screens into our window into the world. And the danger with that and the responsibility that comes with that is you get to choose what you see. And that's
Right.
going to inform your, you know, view of the world, which might not be all that. It might be real somewhere, but it's not real to you where you are.
Right.
So I think it's really important to judge things based on what your experience is with
Right.
people, and or else you're just open to a wild amount of manipulation. You know,
Yes.
and I think that's what's happening is, you know, people stare at their screens and now they're getting angry when it's like, if you just went outside and, you know, talked to your neighbors or hung out at your local hangout, you would realize that most people are just living their lives and, you know, doing what they do and having an okay time of it.
That's so. I hope that's the big consciousness change that happens in our lifetime. Is that more and more people will do what you're describing.
Yeah, I think it is starting to happen. Mm-hmm. You know, it's especially 20, not to get too into the weeds on this, but 2020 was a big wake-up call for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. And the more conversations I have with people now, I'm finding that they're starting to, they're coming to the same conclusions. That, you know, it's time to focus on the here and now experience as opposed to all the what ifs and the this and the that and the here and the there, because there's, you know, a billion bad things happening all day, but if none of them are happening to you in your neighborhood or in your town, in your community, like that's where, in my opinion, that's where your focus should be. Is, you
Right.
know, if there's a problem, you know, if one of my friends has a problem and I can do something to help, okay, that's one thing. But, you know, there's nothing I can do about all the problems everywhere all the time.
Right.
You know, so I think it's unhealthy to focus on those things.
It is, and that's what the news does for us. Is it keeps every time you turn it on, there's a hypodermic needle stuck in a vaccine bottle. Well, I mean, important subjects to be sure, but one analogy I've heard recently was how they teach race car drivers. They say, when you're learning to drive, when you're driving 200 miles an hour, don't look at the wall.
Yeah.
You will hit the wall.
Yeah.
We're looking at the wall in 6 o'clock news.
Yeah, that is a great way to put it. They teach something similar in the motorcycle safety course when you go to get a motorcycle license. When you're going through a curve, they say, hey, don't look at the guardrail, don't look at the ground, look through the turn, because the bike is going to go where you're looking. You know, subconsciously your hands are going to move in that direction. So if you're looking at something that you don't want to hit, guess
Exactly.
what? You're going to hit it. You know,
Yeah.
so that is a fantastic analogy of of 24-hour news. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is. It's depressing, and it's it's not fun. So I guess my point is another fantastic, like just a great song with a great message.
Oh, thank you.
And I like the lyrics that you choose. They're not what you typically hear. It's hard to describe. I'm trying to think of a good way to explain it. But a lot of songs you hear, and it's like, okay, yeah, that sounds like a song. Obviously, these sound like songs, but there's something different about your word choices that I don't think other artists would make, and it makes it much more interesting to listen to. And I think part of it too is your delivery, and maybe if it's, you know, maybe it's because it started as poetry.
Maybe.
But, which, by the way,
thank
I have to address this. Speaking of your delivery, but do you get that you sound like Johnny Cash a lot?
Only every day.
That's
But
what
you
I figured.
I do not try to do that. And, as I mentioned to you earlier, I never felt like I could sing. I didn't want to try. You know, I just was one of those whispering people in the
Right.
And So again, through Carl's thing, and trying to do something, I just experimented with different ranges. I can't sing in the upper registers that well without a falsetto type of thing, so I just followed what was happening, and that's me, good or bad.
Well, it's very good. You sound amazing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really it's something quite special, actually. When Bob Lindsley, who helped put this whole thing together, so shout out to Bob, he pointed you out, and he was just like, you have to hear this guy. He's got an amazing voice, incredible songwriter, like, get him on your show. And I was just like, okay, like, send me a video. And he sent me a video, and just immediately, as soon as he started singing, I was just like, oh, I get it.
Wow. I'm flattered. Thank you.
So, well, thank you again for coming on here. All right. Care to...
All right, I'm going to continue to complain about the division in our society.
Perfect.
Okay, this one is called Flowers on the Battlefield. There are flowers on the battlefield. Have you noticed them? Strangers spin the hate we feel time and time again. Battles that we choose to fight, another's fantasy. All the people in our sight share our destiny. Sweet music's playing, hear it if you will. Soft smiles are saying, you can love me still. We're inspired to disagree, We're inspired to disagree, but look into my eyes. A shared goodness you can see, our hearts realize. We are trained to value things, to blame and criticize. All for naught, our soul sings, wonder at the prize. Sweet music's playing, hear it if you will. Soft smiles are saying, you can love me still. Sorry for the skips in there. Thank you.
Wow. Oh, that's another great song.
I think I need a sip of water. Sometimes I talk too much.
Well, I don't know. You're doing pretty well here. You're doing pretty well here. This is actually speaking of talking too much. So yesterday, I mean, I did this a 24-hour live stream. And I had to talk for about 24 hours. So I think that was talking too much.
Yeah. Well, kudos to you for being upright in the chair, I guess.
Oh, I almost was. I woke up this afternoon and I was just like, oh no, I have to do another live stream. But I'm feeling pretty good now, and I have to say it's quite enjoyable to listen to you and listen to your music.
Oh, thanks.
Now, what was interesting about this last song was your chord choices. There's a whole other layer of the storytelling with what you're doing on the guitar there.
Yeah, and I really didn't play it as well as I can play it, but I was really trying for some ethereal feel to it. And this is a song that I really feel like was sort of presented to me. I mean, the feel, to me, it's power in there because it's, I'm so outraged at how powers that be, the guy behind the curtain, are coming between intelligent people who have just chosen a side for no reason.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Now, one thing I'd like to touch on, because this guitar is a very special kind of a guitar.
yes,
And
we were playing.
I think it adds a whole new dimension to your songwriting, and you are very aware of this and use it to your benefit. Would you like to discuss a little bit about that guitar and what makes it so special?
Yeah, sure. Now this is not a super expensive guitar, but it's really interesting technology. It's a Yamaha Trans Acoustic, they're called, and they make several models of it. This is a Dreadnought model. But what they've done is it's all acoustic, but it has digital interface inside where it can model reverb and chorus, and it has a transducer of some sort that's in contact with the back of the guitar that vibrates and makes the guitar a speaker. And so it has a very unusual sound just acoustically.
Yeah.
And that's quite inspiring as you're writing, too. Some days I'll get a wild hair and run down the country road, and that hall reverb is there for you.
So, I know we touched on the songwriting already, but there is one question that just popped into my mind.
Okay.
And that's when you start a song as poetry and then you bring it to a guitar, do you have to rewrite the lyrics at all to make it fit to the music? What's that process look like?
Yes. And lots of times, yes, I'll write a poem and it's shorter than what the song is because, I'll need to have a chorus usually in the song. And so one of the verses usually speaks to me to be the chorus. And sometimes that creates an evolution within the song structure itself because all of a sudden I've spotlighted that as being important. So I might change a word or two here or there to help elevate that. But it's a fun process to me.
Yeah.
I guess everybody writing songs does things differently. And I'm exposed to so many great songwriters on Carl's, you'd think I'm his mother. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
No, but people on there that come from so many different angles, and I just love it, So, and being so different, this gets back to microcosm of our society. The more different people that there are, the more freedom you have to be yourself.
Yeah.
Wow. Once you see this excellence all around, you realize they're just people like you are, and so, well, daggone it, I'm just going to sing with whatever voice I've got, and somebody might like it.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, man, a lot of somebodies are liking it.
Oh well, thanks, but it is freeing in that regard. So
yeah, that's man, that's pretty prolific right there.
Okay. Well, I promise I won't sing any more songs about the division in our society. How's that? Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, I think we're on the same page.
Right.
But I mean, it's a necessary message. It's something that has to be addressed at some point by someone. So if not you, then who, right?
But I want to do it in an inclusive way.
Yeah.
I like to have people just examine it. Like you can make a statement like that, and they're thinking, people who might not think the way I do politically are assuming that I'm talking about them, blaming people that think like I think. So I try to make it generic enough that there's there's a seat for everybody on that one.
Wow. I like that. I like that a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah, it is. It is very inclusive, and I think that's important. There's a way to address it because we'll see this a lot where people will address it in a way that is confrontational, intentionally
Right.
confrontational, and I don't think that's an effective way to do it. So I really appreciate what you're doing through your music
Well,
there.
thank you. Thank you. I think that's important.
All right, let's do another song or two.
Okay, let's see what we have here.
Oh, and real quick, I just want to thank the people that have tuned in thus far and anybody watching after the fact. This is the Lockdown live stream. We do this every Sunday at 6 p.m. with a different artist or band each week. I also want to make a mention that Jim Knox has a YouTube page. It's Knox Studios. It's Knox with a K, K-N-O-X. It's also up on the screen, and there's a link to his YouTube and Facebook in the description down below. So head on over to his pages, give him a like, give him a subscribe, and just show Jim some love.
Well, thank you. Okay, this next couple of songs are about emotions I don't necessarily feel myself, but I feel through other people. This one is called Worthy. When I feel low from peeking out upon the digital world without the slightest trace of the smallest tether to reality, if truth be measured, everyone puts up their best selfie smile, retouched no less, bragging without words of lives that don't exist, I realize. But in the eyes of my true friends, epiphany takes hold, begins to spring cool water of content, dashing flames the fake world sent. Media giants do this too, controlling what we think and do. With such contrivance we see through, still it all can make us blue. Yet my ego holds them up as standards lofty to instruct my fire of doubt and fear to fan. Do I really think I can? But in the eyes of my true friends, epiphany takes hold, begins to spring cool water of content, dashing flames the fake world sent. So let me be with those of you who share a smile, I will too, feeding joy to the fearful child inside, who was worthy all the while. Okay. Thank you. Okay. While we're on the theme, every songwriter, I guess, has written a COVID song, so this is mine, and I honestly have not felt this way during this, so my friends don't need to call the suicide hotline. So anyway. I'm feeling propped up by a coffee cup, hurting in a rut, like a percolated, caffeinated, possibly methylated paper cut, living on a raw edge toes hanging off a building ledge. Trepidated, tabulated, infiltrated, inundated, falling off the Brooklyn Bridge. I'm not the only one, I am sure, on the floor, staring at a locked front door. It all just seems like a dream. So I'm cutting off my TV, gonna peek outside though it might be pollinated, ozonated, decimated, confiscated, whatever I can see. Text me on my cell phone, we'll know we're not alone. Aggravated, unrelated, totally manipulated, captivated by some drone. I'm not the only one, I'm sure, on the floor, staring at a locked front door. It all just seems like a dream. Let's be emancipated. Trapped inside is overrated. Can't remember when we've dated. We've been compliant but devastated, discombobulated, propped up.
You know, I think that's what it is. It's your vocabulary. You've got a very, very broad vocabulary, and you're using word choices that you don't hear in other songs, like discombobulated.
Yeah, that was that would be a challenge, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it seems like you're writing in a way that would be very challenging for most people, and yet all of your songs are using, you know, words that, again, are would be really hard to put into a song, but you're doing it all the time very successfully. That is fascinating.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So let's dive into a little bit more background here, because I know I wanted to ask you about your photography career and hear a little bit about that. So that's been your main thing, yes?
Yes. I became a professional photographer a long time ago, back around 1980.
Okay.
I had a career for a while working for a school picture company, of all things, which was tremendous experience in the volume of it.
Yeah.
You know, just you learn a lot if you do a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so eventually, you know, I didn't see that as where I wanted to be. So my wife and I opened a studio in 1987, I think it was, in Chesapeake, and we've had that since then. And we've done portraiture mainly, you know, some weddings, some commercial photography, lots of different things. And it's been a very interesting ride through the development of the digital process and things that are happening now. So I really enjoyed it, and I love doing portraits of people. It's the creative thing that kind of leapt off that and went to songwriting, I guess. But I still love doing photography.
Yeah. Now that brings up an interesting point, because you said how you've shifted to music a little bit. Because, you know, photography was mostly shut down because of the pandemic, because, you know,
right,
fairly obvious reasons at the time. Do you find that you're, like, do you ever look at yourself and go like, okay, I'm a photographer here, I'm also a musician here, or is it more of you're just a creative person?
I think the latter, really. That's where I get excited about things, is in as things are being born and dawning. It's and again, I don't mean that from an egotistical point of view, but just from what I enjoy doing. And I've tried doing painting as a hobby too. Back in college, I was an art major, actually.
Really?
Yeah. So I've done a lot of painting, but the nice thing about songs is you don't have to have the wall space.
Yeah. Very, very true.
So, and I intend to paint some more as I have time, but for personal reasons again.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a transition point I think we all go through. It's at some point early on. I mean, our ego wants to get approval from other people. They want to, oh, look, I painted this, I took this picture, I wrote this song, and you want to get some feedback. But the real jewel is when you're beyond that.
Yeah.
And you can just know intrinsically that, this in and of itself meant so much to me. And I hope that somebody else might feel what I felt.
Yeah.
And I hope that's where I am now. I don't know. That's my goal.
Well, I think you're succeeding. It seems like you're writing music that is very true to you and honest to you, and you're not compromising it. And in a lot of ways, it would seem you're getting the best of both worlds, because people genuinely appreciate and enjoy what you're putting out there. Which is a difficult thing in music, because you find a lot of people will write, especially like in the industry in particular, it can get formulaic, and it's more about the business side of things, which I understand, and it's something that's a mode that I go into as well from time to time. But there's something really nice about being able to achieve what you are achieving.
And it's really for different audiences. I mean, nobody wants to hear a depressing song in their car on the car radio,
right?
So it's not for that. But maybe in a coffee house kind of vibe, people want to hear some poetry and that sort of thing. So
yeah,
I don't know. I have freed myself from needing to have a place. I'm not trying to sell a song or something.
Right.
I'm just writing it so I have something to put up on Carl's next week.
Yeah,
and it's gratifying to myself. So.
Well, I like that mindset a lot. That's a good mindset to have, I think.
Yeah.
All right, let's do another song or two here.
Okay. Well, I have, departing from the heavy stuff. I'm going to do this one, which I intentionally wrote to not have metaphors in it, and to have the contrast of a Zen philosophy and a country song. So I was humoring myself in this, so forgive me. Fluorescent lights glaring bright, a Formica diner table in the middle of the night. I'll hold back tears if I am able. White coffee cup filled again, while not a word is spoken. A lost man remembers when two hearts were being broken, as as my mind tries to escape her. Icy winds sneak through a steel door, blowing yesterday's newspaper across the checkered floor. Suddenly, heaven sent, stuck in the here and now, my moving on moment, frozen solid somehow. It's that instant in your life where you just stop and see all the joy and strife is meant to be. Is that George Jones on the jukebox? Someone's final quarter, philosophy in white socks. I feel better, sorta. All the beauty is still there, surrounding you to see. Hear the music in the air, such a lush reality. It's that instant in your life where you just stop and see all the joy and strife are meant to be. Well, that was kind of different, admittedly, but
Now, so do you do that often, where you try to like challenge yourself or limit yourself or kind of put yourself in a certain direction to write a song where it's like, you know what, I don't want to do this. I want to like really, try to go for something specific.
I have tried that some more recently, because otherwise I feel like you get into writing the same song over and over again. You'll get chord progressions that sound really cool, and somehow your subconscious pulls you back to it. So I guess this is my way of avoiding that trap.
I like that. I like that.
And even though I said earlier I just write songs to entertain myself and express what I'm feeling,
Right.
I have written a couple of songs that I pretended that they were just a feel-good song, It's more like what people would like to hear. And that's a whole different process. I'm not sure it's as rewarding somehow mentally, but, a song with a hook.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, so.
I enjoyed that song quite a bit. I think taking the risk paid off on that one.
Well, thanks. I kind of like it. It's interesting. I forget who it was. Oops, something slipped. Someone, I saw a quote somewhere that was admiring some singer who just wrote alliteratively. It's like described what it was what he was seeing.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's what sort of inspired this, really. And I think that's a neat way to go, because you could do it about motorcycle riding or whatever you want. You know? Yeah. So.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I might have to try that at some point.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it can be fun. But
all right. Well, what do you say we do one or two more songs?
Okay.
And then we'll wrap this thing up.
Okay. Well, I actually have one that this probably ought to be the last one, because it's called "Let's Get Gone." How about that?
Well, in that case, real quick, just before we do the last song, I just want to again plug Jim Knox and his YouTube channel. It's Knox Studios. You can also find him on Facebook if you look up Jim Knox. There are links to both of those down in the description down below. So if you like what Jim does and you want to check out his videos and his music, you can go ahead and do that. And Jim, do you want to plug your photography business as well?
Not really. I mean, it's that comes to me occasionally. Some things from past clients, and that's probably until this pandemic is really done. We'll get back on it at some point.
Fair enough.
Thank you, though.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So,
all right.
Okay. All right. So this is a good song to leave on, and this is one that I, like I mentioned, I just wrote to have somewhat of a hook to it, and just about stuff that other people write songs about. So it's anyway. It's called "Let's Get Gone." Take a two-bit gamble. Come along with me. Let's ramble on. Let's get gone. Get a road trip started in that broken-hearted song. Let's get gone. Not only over that next hill, love can find us if it will. Take off that rearview mirror, karaoke our new favorite song as we get gone. Hair flying, wild wind blowing, freedom finally finds us knowing now our past is done. Life is right before our eyes. If we only realize. So how fast can we scramble to grab the thrills we can handle? Run towards the setting sun. Let's get gone.
I like that a lot.
Well, it's simple, you know.
Oh man, that's a nice song.
Yeah, well, it's. I guess everybody's had that escapist dream occasionally. Yeah. Let's get in the car and get the hell out of here, right?
Yeah. There's that adventurous kind of a spirit to it. It's like, and it's funny. Maybe that resonates in particular with me because I ended up down in Virginia Beach kind of by accident. It wasn't really the plan.
Yeah.
I'm from Boston, and at one point I just wanted, I was looking around and going like, I'm just not, this isn't what I want. I want something different. I don't know quite what it is. I know it has to do with music. And initially I was going to move to Georgia. The plans fell through, and I had a buddy down here in the Navy, and he was like, well, you know what? I'm looking for a roommate. Why don't you just come down here? Awesome. So I was like, okay. And I didn't have anything lined up. I didn't even know there was a music scene. I was just looking to make a change. So I kind of did that. Just got in the car and, I went and I got gone.
well, good. You got to walk through those doors that open up.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, it's turned out better than I could ever have imagined.
Well, you're on a good track here. I like the things you're doing and the things you've been producing, and I'll be a fan watching from now on. So it's cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. And likewise, it would be safe to say I am a fan of your music. Oh. And I really appreciate you taking the time to come onto this show and share your music and your story with me and with some of our audience. So I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you for having me. This is a stretch for me to do something like this and try to remember all these lyrics. but and so I so respect other musicians that I know that are the gigging folks that do this day after day, and my hat's off to them. I admire and respect what they do.
Yeah, it's especially for the gig musicians that are doing 3-4 hour shows.
Yeah.
Hats off to them. I don't know how they do what they do. It's
it's impressive, is all I know.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but thank
absolutely.
you. This has meant a lot to me. It really has. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely, Jim. And again, thank you as well. And to everybody that is tuned in and anybody that is tuning in after the fact and watching the video, we really appreciate the support. And once again, if you are interested in supporting what we do, the best way to do that is to share these videos. You can follow our Facebook page. You can like our YouTube page. And also be sure to head over to Jim's YouTube and Facebook. You can find him by looking up his name, Jim Knox. That's Knox. And you can also find him on YouTube, Knox Studios. So go ahead and check him out. And with that, we will see you next Sunday. Good night.